there's a lot of ways right now where AI is coming into there. But I think in talking to Parker too, we can't lose the human element. It's human beings are trusting other human beings. And so we might have new tools and new things, the new gadgets will come out in a few years, I don't know, but the human element always has to be there. So really it's like, how can I connect with other humans in a very natural, organic way? I don't think that will ever be lost. And I think that understanding that key component will really help to kind of.
Well, hey y'all, it's Parker with UPBEAT. Thanks so much for being back here listening in to this episode. It's going to be absolutely packed with value. We've got Chris Norman on the show today. Chris, what's up, man?
Hello.
So good to have you. It's not often that I get people that are like here kind of local to where I am too. So have you always been in this area?
No. Lived in 30 spots my whole life. So I've moved in quite a lot, but California, New Mexico, Oregon was most of the time. But probably my wife and I have been here for probably 8 years in the Idaho area. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. And you are a data expert, marketing expert. If you don't mind taking like a quick 2 or 3 minutes and letting the audience know like who you are, what you do.
So Chris Norman. So I'm basically, long story short, I started my business when I was 17 years old. So it was a window washing company. I just kind of wanted to, just use my time in the way that I wanted to. So I just wanted that freedom. Made a lot of mistakes. I've owned 14 businesses. I've sold some. I've lost some. So just overall last 20 years, I've learned quite a bit. I was a risk manager at LPL Financial as a licensed financial advisor. So I oversaw about $100 million in assets. And I just love math and data and science. It was always something that just fascinated me. So once I bought a business with my wife, we doubled the revenue in 12 months. And I really attribute that to focusing on the data. What's working? What's the target market customers? And so after we did that, I started this business. So 6 years ago. And so we just kind of been growing and expanding and just learning more about businesses, how they operate, and really more or less how does a business get to know its customers, target those customers and attract them in a way that feels natural, that doesn't feel like off-putting. And so we really focus on that dilemma. A business needs customers. How do we go about doing that in a way that benefits both parties? So that's kind of in a little bit kind of what we do and what I love doing. So yeah. Nice.
Why would you say you love doing it?
I love the human level of it. Obviously, I love the math and science of it, but I love obviously we're all humans, right? We have different backgrounds, experiences. Typically, when you start a business, you're passionate about a service or a product. You want to offer it, or you want freedom for your family. You want some. It comes with a lot of emotion, right? A lot of feelings involved, and it really helps me when I assist them in that. I assist them in discovering something they didn't know about their business or about their target market to help them grow, using math, data, and all these kind of things, social media and digital marketing to effectively help them produce that. So that's kind of what I just love doing it. I wake up refreshed, and of course I have some bad days and good days like everyone, but overall I really enjoy what I do. So
yeah, that's incredible. Well, and you've got to know so much just from all your experiences, like the lessons learned. And then just finding more and more specifically as you learn, like what things you're passionate about, what things you want to dial in on and help people with. One thing that I know we talked about shortly on a call before doing the episode was truly how people can grow the right way these days in such a, saturated business market. And depending on the niche, obviously, but there's a lot of people out there. Most of us have to have like 2 or 3 side hustles right now to freaking survive. So the businesses are like tripled, but what are your thoughts on that? And how can people really stand out?
Such a good question. And I wish there was a very simple answer. As you know, it's not simple, right? Business is very dynamic. It changes. It depends on what your service offering is, what your customers are, your location. There's so many variables. That's where it gets complicated, is that as business owners, we are looking at areas where like, okay, I know what I serve, I know what product or service are offering, but how we go from that to people identifying us, trusting us, and then taking their wallet out to buy our service or product. That element is so complex, it can kind of get sometimes draining. But there are some key things that we can do to kind of get ahead of it. So a few things that we talked about, I'm not sure how much you get involved. One is AI is obviously used a lot in businesses. It's quite huge. I mean, obviously, in the future, we don't know what that's going to do. It's not going to replace human beings, but it makes us more efficient. So, on one caveat is in your business field, do you see areas to use AI, whether that is to analyze your data or to understand your market better? There's a lot of ways right now where AI is coming into there. But I think in talking to Parker too, we can't lose the human element. At the end of the day, it's human beings are trusting other human beings. And so we're so bombarded with scams and so many things, so many calls and emails we get that just feels like, is it too good to be true? We understanding that another human being is in our same shoes. They care about us. They want the best for us. Working with them, that really is a synergy that I think is going to be successful for forever. We might have new tools and new things, the new gadgets will come out in a few years. I don't know, but the human element always has to be there. So really, it's like, how can I connect with other humans in a very natural, organic way? I don't think that will ever be lost. And I think that understanding that key component will really help to kind of broadcast that. So it's just, yeah, again, I wish it was a simple answer, but I think just connecting with other people, I think it's a huge
right.
thing. So.
No, that is a huge thing. And we actually just had an awesome interview, the episode right before this one, with a body language expert. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about how, it's a common phrase, but she reminded us that people don't buy products, they buy people. Mm-hmm. And that's why you look at big brands, right, who look to humanize their content, like, watching commercials at a sports game or something, it'll show like this touching moment, and then at the very end it'll be like Ford. You're just like, okay, that was super random and nothing to do with Ford, but I sure feel good, So I love that, because it just shows like people are not buying like just because of a business. They're buying because how that business makes them feel and how they can relate to that business. Mm-hmm. And even right now with podcasting, I'm passionate about this kind of content. We've got a TikTok live stream going on right now. We've got a bunch of people in here listening and asking questions. We're doing a podcast, and this is like as human as it gets as far as content goes. Mm-hmm. And so people are going to stick around, and what we talk about, they're going to eventually know, like, and trust us, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe buy from us.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So I love this kind of stuff too. Do you think with AI, there's going to be like a new gap of people who use it the right way and double down on human content? Or do you think there's going to, I guess, how should I say this? Basically, do you think there's gonna be a lot of people that just go super surface level and use AI, and everybody starts putting out the same kind of content?
If I could see the future, I'd definitely be a lot more better off than we all would, right? So, but just based upon what we see, I think about how when the internet started, right? Kind of look at that analogy, right? Any shifts in market it's either you're going to be on board or not, right? So ones who got on board on that and found a way to connect to other people, what Amazon, right? They started selling books online, right? It was unprecedented, right? And now look at them. So they're connecting to humans in a way that is efficient. So I think with AI technology, there's so many good things about it and also bad ways of using it. And I think it's pretty much like any tool, right? With a car, with anything, you can use it in a good way or a bad way. And so, and with AI technology, obviously it can create amazing content that looks good. Obviously, as it gets smarter and smarter, it'll get more and more efficient at that, because being fed data from actual artists and actual pictures and understanding what creativity looks like. It's kind of a fascinating thing, this neural network that it creates. But I think, again, using it in a way that is beneficial to your business and beneficial to other people. So does this leave another human being with a positive outlook? I think when we focus on leaving people positively, it's much more impactful than negative. If we have negative feelings or negative things being thrown at them, we just got to kind of get exhausted. But if we have something we can create to tie our message in business that leaves the individual feeling positive about whatever they're buying or whatever experience you are, I think that would be very successful for business too. So it's figuring out how to use that for a business that we can get that connection. So again, I wish I could give you exactly the stuff, but we'll have to see how that kind of turns out. So
yeah, we're all on a wild ride, and we just got to see what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Well, I wanted to kind of pivot here to something that I'm hoping to kind of crush some stereotypes, maybe around the word data, right? Like I
Mhm.
think people when they hear the word data, they kind of turn off. They turn off to numbers and whatever they think is going to be hard or too complex. Um, how have you seen data really help with like this human to human content and growth for businesses? And what what about data makes you so passionate about that? And how is it not like just such a boring thing that people should overlook?
Right. Well, in some ways, it can be boring, like anything, right? We all have a different interests and stuff. That's why I think it's partnering with people who enjoy and passionate about these things. But so again, let's look in the past, right? When decisions were made, typically it was the highest paid opinion, right? It was the person who had the most power was making the decisions on this based upon very little data, based upon just their assumptions on whatever was present. So big wigs, right, would make decisions on for the whole company with very little input regarding what the effects it have on employees and everything else. The shift has been, instead of that, let's focus on actual tangibles that we can gather. And so it's hard because there's so much data on there, right? So you might have a business who's, as an example, a window washer. Let's kind of go with that route. If a window washing company, what data do you get to understand how to pivot your business? It can get overwhelming, but I think in general is just focus on the human level. I think that's what it is. So focus on what you can focus on. And I would say in pivoting just a little bit, get involved in your community too. And that's, I think that's the one level there. So get data from actual people, talk to them, talk to your customers, talk to people who bought from you. Why did they buy from you? Why did they like you? Getting that feedback directly from them with people who've paid their money, that data is essential. Not necessarily some random data. Sometimes we look at Facebook. Well, I got 24 engagements. It's like, what does that, what does that mean? It's really hard to understand how that leads to another sell or leads to like, how do I change my content? But when you're able to talk and survey actual people, you're able to get a lot more feedback. And typically, not always, but their response might be similar to your next customer who fits into that bucket. So one strategy that's used is that take your top 10 customers, call them up, and sit down with them and ask them some questions about, so how come, why do you like us? Like, what are some things about, get their feedback, because you want to duplicate your top 10 customers. If you can take your top 10 and duplicate them, right, you will be off, because as we know, as life is, some people are more challenging than others to deal with. That's just life. That's just not good or bad. It's simply just how it is. If you can take the best performing customers that you bond with, that spend the most money, whatever criteria you have, and duplicate them, your business will be much more successful. And when you understand who they are as people, as individuals, as whatever it might be, on a human level, I really think that's where success comes. You kind of figure out what made them reach out to you in the first place and try to duplicate that. So I think that on the very basic level is kind of how you grow from there. You just start, kind of changing things and altering it, and over time, hopefully that leads into a better direction. So
Love that. Thank you so much for that answer. There's kind of two things, just to kind of double down on the points a little bit so the listeners take note of this. But there's two big things you said there that'll help with growth for any business. And that's one, almost mentorship, finding people in your community or people who have done exactly what you're doing, who are willing to help you, who actually have real stuff to learn from and real advice to give. And number two is with your current clientele, find the top 10 people or however many work. I mean, for me, like I don't have 10 clients. I have like 4. So I go to, the 4 that have stuck with me forever and be like, hey, why do you guys like these services? Right. And that gives you data in a way it's actionable, what you can do next. It's not just looking at numbers and not knowing what to do next.
Yeah. And I think just to pivot off that, actionable data, that's what it is, because we have a lot of data on just, it feels useless. It feels like, okay, there's a lot of stuff. I have Google Analytics, all this kind of stuff that is thrown at us, but actual data. And again, if it comes from a human being that has bought from you in the past, you're getting some high quality data that you can use. So
yeah, absolutely love that. And just to mention one other thing along the lines of finding a mentor, right? the internet is so freaking loud. It is so loud. And I run into this all the time as a podcast producer because, people will get the idea, hey, I want to start a podcast. And then they'll Google it or YouTube it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they find way too much information for them to be able to process all of it. And they go for like the first, whatever was the loudest thing, and they get the worst microphone and they get the worst hosting platforms and they get the worst start because they just follow all this data and information, right?
Mm-hmm.
That maybe wasn't a mentor or wasn't somebody who has been in the space forever. It's more just a bunch of affiliate people who get paid to promote like the crappiest microphone that's out there.
Right.
And so you got to be smart about who you reach out to for that stuff.
I love that because at the end of the day, we're serving people, right, at the level, but we all have something unique to offer. We can't diminish that. So sometimes when you learn from others, take that as a lesson, but what they're doing might necessarily work for you. You might have to change core personality traits that just won't come off natural. So pivot hard into who you are as an individual. And once you do that, then you're natural. And then all of a sudden, customers who buy from you are buying you, not some facade you're putting on, right? Or because, I looked at the reviews and this happened, or this video is this, and all of a sudden I'm going to follow this direction. When just pivoting who you are and being natural and being passionate, whatever you want to be, and then whatever customers come to you in that state are buying you as an individual. So then all of a sudden you ask them, okay, and then so you're kind of leaning more into like what's natural. And typically you're natural, it's much better as opposed to trying to kind of pivot in a way that doesn't feel natural, and all of a sudden so it's just I think that helps when you go that route for businesses too.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to make sure that everybody heard that. That was a power quote. I mean, that's going to be something we share on social media after this episode. Pivot hard into who you are as an individual. That's a really cool power quote. Because if you do that, like you said, everything else just kind of falls into place in the most authentic way possible. You're not having to you still have to work, but you don't have to go through all the unnecessary ups and downs.
Yeah. And then sometimes too, the information we get is like you mentioned, it's not genuine. It's hard to go through the quantities of content that are actually genuine and just pretending to be genuine. And then we get bombarded by data. And what happens with that? We get tired, we get exhausted, and we're like, you know what? I just can't, because we're trying to process this stuff. So when we just kind of lean hard, like, hey, what do I want to do? What customers do I want to serve? Who am I as an individual? And how am I unique in this space? A lot of times that's a great way to start. And from there, you have a building block to go off of. And so I just think, and instead of going with, hey, what's the most successful person? We know from that survivorship bias, that's not a good thing, right? We're going with people who are outliers in the field, which are impossible to attain by natural phenomenon, as opposed to going with people who are actually real in the space, who are living their best life. I think it's different. We have to kind of change our mindset a little bit. And I think that will help us in our growth as human beings.
Absolutely. That just reminded me of a funny video I saw recently where the guy was like, I'm going to ask Google, for proof on how coffee makes you blind. And then he was like, I'm going to ask Google for proof on how coffee improves your eyesight. And there were literally studies all over the board proving both things right. And so it's like people are in just a constant state of overwhelm, I think.
Yes.
So there's just kind of this point here of simplifying it and bringing things back to like a groundable level that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so you teach this stuff too now. You were telling me that you work at BSU. Is this the kind of stuff you teach, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so it gets kind of a newer field. BSU has a department called Studio Blue that kind of helps undergraduates kind of get into the workforce. So it was a recent thing. I was hired on to assist that and kind of teach. So these are kind of things we kind of go over, solving problems on websites or digital marketing. So I'm excited. It's kind of like 3 weeks into it, and I really enjoy the process and kind of taking what information I have, which I feel like it's very little, to be honest. When you look at the world around us, the immense amount of knowledge, I feel humbled and I don't know. That's why I just continue wanting to just learn more. I always have a textbook out. I try to learn as much as I can, because it feels like there's so much interesting things around us, and humans and data and business. And so I just try to pass on that to the next generation who hopefully can use that in a way that benefits them and others they serve. So I don't know. It's a new journey, and I'm just happy I'm part of it. So
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully this isn't too personal here, but I'm going to try to get a little deeper in like the passion and the why and stuff. But because obviously you're passionate about, like you said just now, having a textbook open, learning, always taking in all this information. But the cool part about it is you then pivot, and then you're doing that to help other people.
Mhm.
Like you've got amazing intentions and you're helping other people. So why do you think, or where do you think that feeling of wanting to help so many other people with this stuff comes from? Could it be maybe that you didn't have that kind of help when you were going through the stuff?
Yeah, great question. And I love these deep things too, because also on a human level, we have these questions, right? We want to kind of connect on this level. So happy to share that. Long story short, my upbringing was not fantastic. I was in an abusive household for most of my life. And so from a young age, always told I wasn't good enough. Always, there was abuse on a daily basis. I had panic attacks for a long time. So I guess from a young age, it was learning that at that point that I wasn't of anything of worth. So unfortunately, that mindset continues to propel me, but I lean into it in the sense of that, how can I use that to make other people feel better? Because at all those moments, I did not. I felt less than. So I know words are powerful, actions are powerful, body language is powerful. So I lean heavily into making others impactful. And again, unfortunately, because of that, I never feel like I'm enough as an individual. That's just kind of part of that kind of human thing. And it is good or bad, right? We take life experiences as they are. We all get dealt different cards in life. And it's how we play those cards that define who we are as people. So we all have cards. We're all different as people, but as we play the game of life, how we play matters. And so for me, as I go through this, I just try to lean into that. And of course, I can't mention too, I'm a Bible-based individual, right? So I love the Bible, and those principles has helped me as well. So all these kind of things have shaped me as a person to really assist others with what I'm passionate about in their journey. And so I guess that's the short end version of that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that, and being open too about being faith-based and stuff. That's a big thing for me on this podcast. Is I don't know how closely you followed it, but I've been doing this 5 or 6 years, and only this year did I make the pivot. Like, hey, I want to have people on here who are genuine, who are doing things with the right intentions, who have proven to be successful, and who cling to faith and good traditional values and things like that. Because I think that's what the world needs more of. And I went through a stint of this podcast for years. No shades to, I'm not going to drop names of certain guests, but I went through a stint on this podcast for years where people did not come on here genuinely, and they just wanted to plug like a book or something. And some people didn't even remember the name of the podcast, didn't remember my name. They were just in a tour to publish and promote their stuff. And I'm just like, I want to slow down and do this the right way, and the way that I think is the most genuine.
Yeah. And I love that. I think it's a good pivot to do. And not saying that those individuals in general are bad. They're on their journey. We're all on different aspects. And I think partnering with individuals who have a mindset that is ingrained in who we are, and doing that even in business too, right? I mean, not that we can necessarily pick that, nor should we, right? We should be open to others, right? And whatnot, but really connecting with human beings and really seeing how you can assist others. I don't know. It just leaves you on a better field. You're not going to have always the best days. It's life, right? You're always going to have ups and downs as part of it. But if you can view the ups in a great way, kind of, I don't know. I just live life in a way that you help other people. I think in general, that's really good motto. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we've already covered so much value just in a short, under 30-minute episode here. Is there anything that you would want to share that I haven't asked about yet?
I think the one thing, I guess, for listeners who are business owners, right? They're looking at, maybe they already have a full-time job. They're looking to do a side hustle, right? They're wondering how to get started. What I would suggest is looking at your local market and seeing what other people are in that space. A lot of people jump into businesses and there's already 5 people who do it, and you're already kind of starting in a disadvantage. And it's not doesn't mean you can't do it, but if you have 4 things you like, do research on all 4 and see which ones in your local area don't have a lot of that. And then you're starting off in a way that kind of benefits you. Also, if you can't afford a website, do Google My Business page. Make sure you have that. Get your social media platforms up and running. That's going to give a nice start to it. And again, get connected to the local community. Get your chamber of commerce. Get involved in ones who are like-minded business owners that are going to help you and mentor you to kind of understand how business operates. It's a complex, beautiful thing. We're all learning. I do not know everything. I'm still learning daily. But if we can help each other in this realm, right, we can kind of get to a spot where we feel good about our journey and we're seeing success with our family too.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And I'll just kind of put a note here. That's how you and I got connected, was being involved in local community because of, well, Holly Fleming. She's absolutely incredible.
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah.
And I met her through working in local chamber events and networking events, things like that. And it's been really, really great connecting with everyone there. And it's pretty easy to show or to find out what businesses there's a lot of and what businesses there's not a lot of and what businesses just aren't even here yet.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and close this out and do a quick beatbox with your name. And what's your website, or where would you send people to?
I guess GemDOS is probably that's
okay.
Probably one you can learn about me.
So GemDOS, it's GEMDOS. The kiss you read it to Chris Norman. Look at the Chris Norman with Gem Jewelry. This is with GemDOS.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you. And thanks for being on Upbeat, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, Parker. It was an absolute pleasure. It was nice to meet you, and thank you for having me.